lot of great entrepreneurs just decide and worry about the what ifs and the buts afterwards. Why is it that some people live so well in life while many more do not? I have people that come to me and they're like, Michael, I've been in personal development longer than you've been alive. You want to know how much time we statistically spend outdoors today? 2%. Good business builds business. I stopped thinking in months and I stopped thinking in years and I start thinking in decades.
What's the secret weapon behind every top CEO and entrepreneur? A game-changing executive assistant. Hermessi gives you access to elite EAs who supercharge your productivity. From payroll and admin to social media and customer support, they handle it all so you can focus on growth and big picture decisions. These aren't your average assistants. They're expertly trained, thoroughly screened, and equipped with the latest AI tools to work smarter and faster. Ready to delegate and dominate? Get 15% off your first 2 months with code INSPIRE15. Don't wait. Visit Hermessi, that's HERMESSI.com, and take back your time today. Hey everyone, Linda Vo here with another episode of Inspired by Success. Have you ever felt stuck hustling, working hard without seeing the results you deserve? Today's episode is your roadmap to breaking free, and our guest is living proof that success isn't just about working hard, it's about working smart with the right habits. Growing up with next to nothing, he turned his curiosity about success into a full-blown empire. Now, he's having casual conversations with millionaires and billionaires, created an app called Ideal, a success coach in your pocket, and is helping network marketers and entrepreneurs achieve consistent 6- and 7-figure incomes. Whether you're struggling to make ends meet or looking to level up your game, you're in for a treat. Let's dive into the world of high-performance habits with a man who's cracked the code on turning dreams into reality. Welcome to the show, Michael Law.
Thank you for having me, Linda.
Tell me a little about your journey. And you're so young and you've achieved so much. Tell me a bit about your background story and how you became the man you are today.
I'll take probably the next 3 to 5 minutes to give the audience a good introduction, and then we can have a phenomenal conversation from there. But my background, I didn't grow up very well off at all. I grew up in a background of poverty. And something unique about when you grow up in poverty is you really don't know you're in poverty because everyone around you is as well. And so certain situations in my lifestyle, I remember growing up and I heard a loud bang in the kitchen. And when there was that loud bang, I was like, all right, let me go see what this is. And it had just rained the night before. And I go walk in the kitchen and the whole ceiling is just caved in and it's all over the kitchen. And so this happens often. We didn't live in a nice neighborhood, or it was a ran down apartment community. And as easy as it to rain, it was so easy for those ceilings to cave in. And it's happened multiple times. I remember getting woken up. It was my mom and my 3 brothers and I in a little tiny 2-bedroom apartment, 1 bathroom, 2-bedroom apartment, all of us sharing that 1 bathroom too. And in my bedroom, we had bunk beds. So we kind of swapped on and off. It's kind of like where you slept wherever you slept in the house. But one night I remember I was sleeping on the top bunk, and sure enough, again, it rains and I get woken up with a couple drips first, just like a little wake up, and then boom, smack to my face. The ceiling had caved in again. And so I've been through that situation a lot. The other big thing for it to really show how big it was is I could go to my friend's house and it was really the same in that environment too. If I went to my kitchen and I opened up my cabinets, I was greeted with cockroaches. So it was very low income environment. But growing up, even though I dealt with those situations a lot in my life, hundreds, if not thousands, it was my life. I go to a friend's house, it was the same situation at their house. So growing up, the way my mind perceived it is I didn't know I was in poverty, and that's not something you worry about as a kid. So as I was going through that journey, it was right around 15, when I turned 15 years old, that intuitively something didn't feel right. We start to get a little bit older. We start to see a little bit of different things in our environment that kind of cause us to question life a little bit more. And I watched my mom work 3 jobs to just put a roof over our head, clothes on our backs, food on the table. Extra funds went to keeping us in sports to keep us busy and stay out of trouble. And so even though I watched her work so hard in life, it didn't make sense to me because it seemed like bills were always a complaint. There was always complaints about bills, and worse than bills, there was complaints about collections calling. And I'm like, we don't even have money. What are we buying that's causing us to go into collections? Like, this doesn't make sense. And so one of my hobbies in high school, I got my first car, and one of my hobbies outside of sports was cars. And I got involved in the street racing scene in my environment. And so whenever I started getting into high school, I always was a kid that with entrepreneurship going on, I was always either landscaping or doing something to make money. But I was landscaping in high school, and I would use that money to buy parts for my cars. And then I would just fix up my car, and then I would just go have fun with it, either at the strip or just be involved in the street racing scene. And a buddy of mine had called me, and he said, "Hey, Michael, next weekend, Gold Rush Rally is coming to town. Do you want to go?" And I'm like, well, first of all, what the heck is Gold Rush Rally? Second of all, what's it have to do with? He goes, well, it's a car show. I was like, all right, sure. Well, I'll check it out and I'll let you know. And so I hop on Google on my laptop and I start looking up Gold Rush Rally. Now, going back to poverty, I didn't have TV. We didn't pay for cable. We couldn't afford anything. So I wasn't watching TV. So I didn't know even a Porsche existed or a Lamborghini or these luxury cars existed. But when I looked up Gold Rush Rally, which I'm going to the library, the public library, to look this up too. So I don't even got a laptop or a phone. And I noticed what Gold Rush Rally is it's a leisure event for higher end or wealthy individuals. And what they do is they go from New York, they drive down south, and then they drive all the way to LA. And they're taking about 3 to 4 weeks out of their life to do this. In every single city they stop in, they do a car show together. And so it's kind of like a country tour car show. Some people will start in New York, go all the way to LA. Some people will just go 1 or 2 states away from their home and then turn around and go back. And some people in those states will pick up and keep going. So I ended up attending that car show. And there was one thing that I realized. It was everybody was at ease. All the car owners, they just looked at ease. They brought their family members with them. And they're taking 3 to 4 weeks off. So I'm like, what the heck are you doing that you could just take 4 weeks off and travel the country? And then I started to learn about other cars. And I was like, whoa, these cars are $250,000. There was a couple of Bugattis, some $1 million cars. And so that was around 15 years old. At that moment, that's where it intuitively struck that like something isn't right in where I'm at in my situation. Are you familiar with Earl Nightingale?
I have some of his audio. Yeah, he talks about the principles of success and the mind and whatnot too, yeah.
Yeah, so that's important to this story. So anybody listening, I encourage you guys to go listen to Earl Nightingale and find his audios. And I started listening to Bob Proctor in my entrepreneurship journey, but I'm going to come back to Earl Nightingale in a second. And so around 16, I'm kind of done with school. I end up graduating a year early and I'm just ready to get out of town. So I moved to Arizona, and I solely moved when I found out and I started talking to these people. I found out they were all business owners and they were all entrepreneurs. And when that happened, I was like, okay, well, I'm just leaving town. I'm going to go to Arizona. I'm going to do this business owner thing. I don't think they said entrepreneur. They all said business owner. So I didn't even know entrepreneurship was a word. And so I left and I just started my own side hustle again, to not necessarily a business owner. Started a social media marketing agency. I was doing that at 16, 17 years old. A big thing in my life is I was like, okay, the question, Earl Nightingale has this audio called The Magic Word on YouTube. I encourage you guys to go listen to it. It's 14-minute audio, and the magic word is attitude. But in about 3 minutes into that audio, he says, why is it, he asks a question. He says, why is it that some people live so well in life while many more do not? Why is it that some people live so well in life while many more do not? And I was like, wow, that is the sophisticated question that I was asking myself at 15. I just didn't know how to articulate the question. When I heard it for the first time, I was like, that's it. That's the question I'm trying to solve for myself, because I'm watching my mom work so hard, yet these people look like they're at ease. They're taking a month off of work. Like, this don't make sense. And they got vacation time and money and cars and family. And like, it just didn't make sense. So my whole purpose over this last decade in entrepreneurship has been to answer that question. Why is it that some people live so well in life while many more do not? And between that, my business partner and I, we've been able to build 12 companies together. And out of those 12, we actually shut down 9 of them. I sold 2 of them early on in my life, and we built one that turned into Ideal today. Throughout building those 12, social media is really a shiny penny syndrome highlight reel that people talk about, because from the outside in, it looked like life was going phenomenal. We were building businesses and new businesses all the time.
What type of businesses were you building though?
I met him through the network marketing industry. And from network marketing, the revenue we built together, I was already building my agency on the side. We started getting into real estate. And then he took his money. He went and bought a gym franchise, fitness gym franchise, and we started running that. We wanted to make more revenue through the gym. So we started a protein supplement company and a fitness line. And then throughout entrepreneurship, we were wearing a lot of tailored suits. People were asking us where we got our suits from. And so we decided to start a suit line. And got into fashion and marketing, started a processing company, an ATM business. We just started doing everything. And one thing I learned from all of this is, and why I'm sharing this, is because in entrepreneurship, we learn that there's 2 sayings out there that steer entrepreneurs wrong. The first one is the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. That steers a lot of people wrong, and that's what we thought. So we started 7 different companies at once. And that spread our money too thin.
Yeah. And your focus too.
And your focus too thin.
Yeah.
And the other one is reinvest all your money back into the business until it makes profits. And those both stirred us wrong, because not only did all those companies make money, but we didn't get to see a dime from it, because we're following this philosophy that who knows who made up was reinvesting all the profits back into their business.
Most people do.
Yep. For 7 years, we were building these businesses, and didn't get to have nothing to show for it. And so now I teach entrepreneurs how to make profit in their business first, get paid from their business. The second half of Earl Nightingale's audio, he defines success, right? And he says, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And so I listened to this audio every day for 4 years. I didn't know why. I was drawn to listen to it. I heard Bob Proctor for a little bit, and Bob Proctor referenced him. And I was like, okay, well, then I listened to this audio for 4 years. Don't know why. And it really came down to it. And I was like, okay, let me break this up, this definition, and then we'll go into conversation. So success is the progressive realization. Okay, so that means we got to progressively realize something. So I took the next part of the word, worthy. It's like, okay, so worthy, the definition of worthy means something of value. So like, okay, success, we got to progressively realize something of value. I was like, all right. Then I saw this word ideal. It's like, what the heck does the ideal mean? The definition of ideal is only in the imagination, desirable or perfect, but not likely to become a reality. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. I was like, so you're going to progressively realize something of value that might not happen. I'm like, why won't it happen? That doesn't make sense. Why won't it happen? It's because you have to develop the success habits to make your ideal life or your ideal fitness or your ideal relationships happen and evolve in your life. And throughout that journey, that's why I started, our talk show, the Millionaires to Billionaires talk show. And I said, if this is true for me, which is developing habits, I found out the answer to that question. Why is it that some people live so well in life while many more do not? It's the habits that develop on a daily basis. And I said, if that's true for me, let me also go interview successful people and see if it's true for them. And if that is true for both of us, all of us, I'm going to dedicate my life to giving back to those who are feeling stuck because they just don't know why they do what they do.
You've overcome a lot of things growing up as well, and you've had to overcome a lot of the subconscious limiting beliefs and those barriers that you had in your mind as well. And that's the thing, is life is constantly a journey of learning as well. And so what I'm curious about is that with your interviews with millionaires and billionaires, what is a common mindset or habit that you notice that sets them apart from the average entrepreneur?
I would say the biggest thing is decisiveness. A lot of us in life, we worry about the what ifs and the buts before we even make a decision. And what I've noticed is a lot of great entrepreneurs just decide and worry about the what ifs and the buts afterwards.
they take risks. I can totally relate to that. My mentor always says imperfect action, because oftentimes we think about things and we overthink, listen to podcasts or overwatch YouTube, and then we get stuck into that thinking and then we don't take action as well. So once you can do it and then fail as many times as possible, that's how you succeed, I guess. I'm just curious to know,
Yeah.
with all your businesses that you built, tell me a little bit more about that and the failures and the lessons that you've overcome as well, and some strategies of how a lot of business owners take their profits and then reinvest into business. I do that as well, but give me some strategies and tips for how you can start paying yourself first.
I fell in love with this. I don't think anybody really invented it. It was just taught. It's a financial strategy I was taught, and I fell in love with it so much that we actually built out a allocation calculator modeling this inside of our app.
Wow.
And what I encourage entrepreneurs to do now is I can guarantee you profit on the next deposit because we prioritize it. And so here's what we do. For example, and this will help you build your business phenomenally for anybody who's listening. And not only just your business, but your personal life. So the allocation calculator has a business tab and a personal calculator. So you could do it for your personal life as well. And say money comes into the bank account. Let's say, for even numbers sake, let's say $1,000 hits your bank account as an invoice got paid from a customer. What we instantly do, it's also broken down by what revenue bracket you're in and how much you make per year. But let's just take the first example, that you're a business between $0 and $250,000 a year. $1,000 hits the bank account. We take 5% and we put it in a profit checking account. What is that? $50, I think. We take $50 and we put it in a profit account. That's profit for your business, for your company. Then we take 15%, that's $150, and we put that in a tax account. That's because here in the US, or you know how taxes are all across the world different, but here in the US, that's not your money right now. That's Uncle Sam's money, and you're going to get taxed on it. And if you have a great tax professional, that's where you bring up that conversation to lower your tax burden. But in this case, we take 15%, we put it in a checking account. Then you take 50%, $500, and you pay yourself as a business owner, because you're running the company. You didn't start a company for it to run you. You started a company so you can make income from it. And so that $500, I was reinvesting back into the business, but I take $500 now for myself. Then the remaining, which is $300, that's your operating expense money. That's your OPEX account. And that's what you're allowed to use to operate your business. And you have $300 now to put back into your business. That's what you put back into your business. That's the financial lesson, at least, that I learned to help pay myself first. And then your business is going to tell you exactly what you can afford, when you can hire. Do you have a marketing budget? Do you have a budget for anything, an office space or a studio or equipment or whatever, because you buy it from the operating expense account. And now you're happily making an income from the business that you're building as well.
Okay, cool. And are there any other tips with the Ideal app, guys? I'm going to check it out too. I'm going to download it because it sounds interesting. I'm very curious about it as well. Is there any other elements of the apps that you want to share with us as well? And you also, before we had the chat, you talked about the book that you had too, because I thought it was a huge book. So if you can share about that and how it ties together and common habit building mistakes. Everybody has challenges when it comes to making change and a positive impact. We all make mistakes as well. So first of all, if you could share a little bit about the book and then talk about the mistakes that we often make when creating change and building habits.
When I was putting the book together, we put the book together in 2018. So we're on the 5th year and 4th version of the book. And the framework from 2018 to today has never changed. Just kind of the modeling and the design and the rebranding of the book has changed. But the framework worked. It worked way before me. A couple things about the book is the whole book focuses on foundational success habits. If you focus on these 6 foundational success habits, we focus on writing down your goals every day, rewriting your quarterly goal every single day, your quarterly goals every single day, reading 10 pages from a book every day, writing down your gratitudes every day, your affirmation every day. And then one of the most important ones is you write down 5 critical tasks that must get done today before you go to bed. That'll get you closer to your quarterly goals. Now, Stephen Covey has a book. I didn't find this out until recently. I actually haven't read that book until recently. And he has a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The first habit is the habit of being proactive. So I was like, okay, if you use this book, and you write down your quarterly goal and your 5 critical tasks every day to get you closer to your quarterly goal, you're also developing the habit of being proactive. The second habit he has in there is putting first things first. I believe that is, I might get them out of order, but putting first things first. Again, if you write down the quarterly goal and your 5 critical tasks, that's also building the habit of putting first things first. Because as entrepreneurs, we have hundreds of tasks that we got to get done. But if we could just prioritize the first 5, the third habit he has in his book is starting with the end in mind, building the habit of starting with the end in mind. Well, if you're writing down your goals for life, things you want in your personal and professional life every single day, you're already starting off with why you're even doing what you're doing today. You're doing it for those purposes of achieving those goals. Then again, you're starting with the end in mind by writing down your quarterly goal, because everything you do today should be focused towards progressing you towards that quarterly goal. Then he has another goal that is seek first to be understood, then to understand. There's only one way to understand anything, and I believe that's through study. Mm-hmm. So as long as you study, and that's where the 10 pages of a book comes in hand. And then he also has his last one on his list, number 7, is developing the habit of sharpening your saw. If you're doing these 6 critical tasks every day, then you're also challenging yourself and personally growing yourself every day, sharpening your saw. So I was like, as foundational habits, you're also building the habit of discipline. Those habits I just listed off, you're building so many more habits on top of it by just committing to the book every single day.
Wow, that's powerful. And sometimes motivation is one thing and discipline is another. To be able to do that on a daily basis, it's definitely worthwhile, a challenge to consider as well. Let's talk about your coaching experience, okay? Because these days there's so many different life coaches and gurus out there. What's your secret sauce of standing out in this crowded personal development space?
One, the book and the app, definitely, for sure. I always say this, and I've never really fallen back from saying this, but so many people, I have people that come to me and they're like, Michael, I've been in personal development longer than you've been alive. And I'm like, yeah, but what do you have to show for it, right? Normally I say, that's good. That means I'm not going to tell you something you probably haven't heard before. But what I will do is I'm going to close the knowing doing gap. You know so much since you've been in personal professional development longer than I've been alive. You probably know so much, but you haven't done anything with that information. And what I do is I leverage the book and the app to close that gap, and I start getting you to do the things that you know you should be already doing. And that's what I focus on most. It really starts with that framework of the book itself, is like, you have to have a vision. And if you don't have a vision for yourself, you're just going to be lost. And then all I'm going to do is push you to achieve that vision and develop the habits that it needs to develop that vision every day. Incorporating being a habit coach is one of those main focuses of really instilling habits. And I could spend a year with somebody to develop just one habit. It's really on them on how fast and how slow. But there's only 2 ways to develop a habit. But the type of person you are speeds that process up.
What type of person is that in terms of what you've seen as well? Because sometimes having a coach is good, because even though, like you said, they know that knowledge as well, it's all in their head, but it's actually doing it. And having somebody as a coach is the accountability part, because for me, I have my mentor. He keeps me accountable as well, and gets like, sometimes we have to overcome what we set out to do, and somebody else can guide us to a higher level as well.
You asked what type of person makes that happen. For example, I could develop a brand new habit immediately. As fast as I can make a decision, I could develop a habit, but it also took me a decade to develop that habit. So now it takes me only a split decision to decide I'm going to pick up this new habit and make it a habit starting today. When I say it depends on the type of person you are to develop a habit, but it took me a decade. I wasn't always able to even make a habit. It took me forever. But I'll share the 2 ways there are to create a habit, and that'll let people know which person they are too as well, or where they're at in their journey. One way to develop a habit is through an emotional impact. Now, most of the time, you don't want a habit to be developed through an emotional impact, because most of the time it's negative. So an example would be someone's maybe 400 pounds, they're way overweight, they go to the doctor, and that doctor's like, you got to change something right now or else you won't be here 6 months from now or a year from now. Immediately, they've developed a habit of, they probably went home and cleaned out their fridge, created a new diet, hit the gym, started fitness immediately, because it's an emotional impact on their body. And so they're going to go out there and they're going to make a change immediately. The second way to develop a habit is through constant spaced repetition. And I add with an elite level coach, which is whether you're listening to audio over and over and over and over again, or reading a book over and over and over again, or listening to podcasts over and over, right? Feeding your mind with this information over and over and over again. That's great. But it's really until I hired my own coach. Coaches have coaches too. Consultants have consultants too. A friend of mine, Greg Reed, said that a mentor is someone who sees something in you, potential in you, and gives you advice and counsel based on the potential that they see in you. A coach is someone you hire to give you a kick in the ass to do the things that all your mentors tell you to do.
I thought they were one in the same, but I like that definition. That's interesting. But, most entrepreneurs have a lot going on, like you mentioned before. There's just so many things on the to-do list. And even if you're delegating and you've got a team too, but what daily habits or unique habits do you recommend for entrepreneurs that are dealing with chaotic schedules and a lot of uncertainty? What habits do you recommend for those entrepreneurs?
The most simple thing I could say that will help everybody is if you just simply wake up with enough time. Most people say, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. So that's already, time is not an excuse anymore. It's never been an excuse. But if you wake up with enough time and give yourself enough time to write down pen to paper.
Ready to revolutionize your content game? Meet Modern IQ, the AI tool that creates SEO optimized, plagiarism-free blog posts with just one click. No more writer's block or endless hours of content creation. Generate high-quality articles that boost visibility, save time, and slash marketing costs. Whether you're a startup or an established business, this tool is your content team, marketing expert, and SEO guru in one. Click on the link in the description to claim your free article and join forward-thinking entrepreneurs who are working smarter, not harder. The future of effortless marketing is here. Are you ready to dive in?
What your day is going to consist of. If you do something as simple as that, that might at least help with clarity. If you could definitely sit down and write down, make a shopping list of everything you want in life, in your personal life and in your professional life, and just making that shopping list as your goal list. So that way, when you do wake up every day and you create your calendar and you structure out your day, whether it's you waking up, you got to take the kids to school by 8, and then you got to go to work and you work a 9 to 5. And then from 9, you got the lunchtime at work. What are you doing during that lunchtime to get you closer to your goals? And then after work from 5 to 9, what are you doing with that time? But it should be written down so you can visually see it. When you visually see it, the self-accountability really turns up in your life, because some of us will write it down. When I started doing this, I would write it down and I couldn't fill in the extra space. I'm like, man, I got this extra time. I just don't know what to do with it. I have friends that will tell me, like, Michael, I don't go to work till 11 a.m. What am I supposed to do till 11 a.m.? I'm like, what do you mean? What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to be working on your dreams. Like, just because you have to go to work at 11 a.m. doesn't mean sleep in until 10, get up and then get dressed and go to work at 11. No, it's like, wake up still. You don't need to wake up at 4 a.m., but 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. But like, get your 6 hours of sleep in, or whatever your body needs to be healthy and re-energized. You have all the energy in your body. We just don't activate it. We don't create energy. So when people tell me, like, if their idea is to go to the gym and they just say, I don't got the energy to go to the gym, I'm going to challenge you guys to use the word, I don't have the desire to go to the gym, because you have all the energy already. We only create more and more and more and more energy. We never run out of energy. It's just activating that energy, which is the desire to do whatever it is you want to do.
Exactly. Yes. I value my time. And I know that successful people always value their time. And I follow Layla Hamosi, and then she tells me that on one of her episodes as well, she mentioned how successful entrepreneurs always planned their calendars in advance. Like over the weekend, they'll be planning for the week ahead. And that just maximizes your productivity as well. If you treat time like a precious commodity, you do not waste it, and you just got to maximize it as much as possible as well. There are mental blocks that people go through, and mindset as well. Some people have different mindsets, and many people struggle with that, especially given their upbringing or whatnot, or life in general, or things that they've been through. What's the common misconception that people have about building success habits, and how do you debunk that myth for clients?
Yeah. I have a worksheet. Maybe I could send you like a Google link. People could download it from the description of this and they could just download it and do the worksheet. Here's what I have you do. And I do it in 11 areas of life, but the worksheet doesn't focus on 11 areas. It focuses on just like 4 or 5 areas. What I do is we take a word like category, like financial wealth. Okay. And then there's a list of questions with it. And I have people do this exercise twice. The first time you do the exercise, you're supposed to write down, answer the questions based on your present results in that area of life. So question number 1 on it is, if your present income were to stop, how long would you be able to maintain your present lifestyle? And you can answer it in days, in months, or in years, right? If your present income were to stop, how long could you maintain your present lifestyle? And so they write down their present results in that area. Now, the second time we come around to that exercise, we write it down the way we want it to be, right? So if your present income were to stop, how long would you be able to maintain your present lifestyle? Well, the first time you answer it, some people, common answer I get is always less than 3 months. I'll get people that'll say 2 weeks. Some people that'll say 3 months, 2 months. And that's your wealth. That's where you're at. You're 2 months wealthy if you're able to stop your income and live for 2 months. Now, the way they want it to be, I've had people say if they could stop working today, they would have money coming in every single month, not only the rest of their life, but for generations to come. And so what that does is when you do this exercise and you take it serious, you do it with intention, you do it with integrity, you separate the gap. You realize that there's a gap between where you are in your present results and where you really want to be in life. And I have people burn the sheet of paper of their present results. Just because you burn it doesn't mean it's going to go away. But I have them burn it to symbolize that we no longer have time to focus on those present results. Because everything you want in life, the book that Think and Grow Rich doesn't exist by accident, right? What you think about, you create. For those of you, if you're faith-based, that's very biblical text too as well. What you think about, you will create. You will believe, and belief will actually create the fact. And so that's a habit alone in itself. So the habit of thinking of your present results is going to keep you getting those results. You have to develop new habits because habits become your personality. Mm. And if you want to change your personality to live the life you want, generational wealth, if that's your answer, well, then you must develop new habits. You must develop a whole new personality to live that life that you want to live. And so ultimately, that's why I don't just agree with it, but all the most successful and wealthiest people on earth and the most effective people on earth all agree that their success has to do with their daily habits.
From the people that you've interviewed, do they have something in common? Like, do they all meditate or wake up at a certain time, or look after their body and have the perfect relationship? Are there some common themes that you've seen from these people that you've interviewed?
It's very unique. It definitely is all over the place because there's so many different walks of life. So I'll take meditation as an example because some of them meditate. Some of them have never meditated in their life, but what do? That's similar. If one doesn't meditate and one does meditate, what's at least the similarities that they do is one person might meditate and allow themselves a moment for themselves. Another person just allows themselves a moment by themselves, but they don't call it meditation. They allow at least a time in the day, whether it's 3 minutes or 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. They just relax, they breathe, they just reset. A big one is just allowing study. Study is a huge one. A lot of these people, they study what they're good at, their skills and their talent. They're not just, talented by fault. They've developed those talents, knowledge, their skills and their abilities. They developed them over time. They didn't just realize they had them and let them sit. They develop them. Hands down, I would say one of the biggest ones is go to every Fortune 50 company. Every single one of them has goals. Every single one of them has quarterly meetings. And every single one of them has a weekly meeting to go over those goals that are on track towards their quarters, that are on track towards their company goals. Every person, every CEO in that company has the same. They have life goals, then they have quarterly goals, and they have weekly follow-ups on those goals. And so that's been one of the biggest things that has transformed my life is this book isn't something I just do for my personal self. I require every employee that I work with, and I consult companies a requirement if you hire me for consulting is that every employee in the entire company must do this. And then we incorporate it on a corporate level that you must have goals for the company, quarterly goals, and then weekly meetings with your executive team, your management team, and then your staff every single week, every 7 days. You should always have a accountability and a communication structure for your life. I do that in my personal life. I got my lady, my daughter, and in my family, every single quarter, best believe we're having a meeting. We're planning out our next quarter. We're reflecting our last quarter, and we're setting new standards every single week. We follow up on Sunday where we're at towards our goals. So,
with the family as well. You do that with the family.
Yes, with the family as well, because you have to have family goals. And I believe your family goals are more important than your business goals.
Give me some examples of your family goals. I'm curious to know, like, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, so there's a few things that I've taken from individuals. So there's an individual out there, Jesse Itzler. He has a program called the Big Ass Calendar. And what it is he focuses on, and I learned this from him, your life resume. And what he has you do is you take a big calendar, you put it on your wall. You can order it from him. It's a laminated one. And what you do is you're supposed to plan out your whole entire personal life first. He encourages to do something new every single quarter that you wouldn't originally have done, right? So with my family, we put things like specific vacation. My lady's been to Costa Rica. I haven't. We want to put a family trip for Christmas to go to Costa Rica. Every quarter, we do something we wouldn't have normally done. And then once a year, we do something big we absolutely would have never done. They don't need to be crazy vacations or crazy trips if people aren't in the financial place to do those trips every single quarter, but do some staycations local. Go visit a monument inside of your state. Go experience the best foods in your state that are famous food locations. Like, do something new. Then also with my family, we're very faith-based, so we make sure that we do something on Sundays. It's family day, which means I shut off. I don't work on Sundays. That is home, whatever the family has planned. That is the day I give to my family. Whatever they want to do, that's what we're going to do on Sunday. And then we make sure that we get outdoors, that we're always outdoors and enjoying the sun. You want to know an interesting statistic with that? About 50 years ago, I would even say 30 years ago, about 30 years ago, we spent 98% of our time as humans outdoors. You want to know how much time we statistically spend outdoors today?
How much?
Blows my mind. 2%.
Yeah. A lot of the times we're stuck on our screens I
encourage outdoors all the time. We have 5 acres with some animals in the backyard, some pigs and sheep and chickens and everything. So like 2 to 3 times a day, they're outdoors. You walk in the property and just outdoors as much as possible.
No, I like that. The different experiences is something. And like you said, if you don't have enough money to go on vacations, trying new foods at different restaurants, because that's something that our family love, eating at the same place. We have our favorites. It just gave me an idea what you just said, to just have a quarterly plan, just simple as starting small, as trying a new restaurant every month, like creating new experiences and new memories as well, because time is, like we said, valuable, especially with family. So I definitely going to take that as a key takeaway as well.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to ask you about your personal development, monetizing that. And you said you're a coach and you help corporations. A lot of coaches struggle with pricing their services. So how do you advise them to create a sustainable income, especially from their expertise? Because I know that I've just recently started to do coaching as well for my vending machine business, because I've got a vending machine business and I want to help others use the same success that I've been through. So even me, I struggle with the pricing on my service because it's still a new program as well. But can you give any advice on that? How can somebody create sustainable income streams from their coaching services?
2 things, but people will ultimately pay you for your knowledge, wisdom, and experience. There's 2 things with this. Which route do I want to go first? 1, we'll take the experience route, right? If you are confident that you could create a duplicatable process for your client, and when you plug in the process, if they listen to you and they follow the process in the system, that's very important. They will get the results that they want. You got to reverse engineer it too as a coach. I always ask, what do you want to charge? I'll give you an example. I didn't think I would be at where I'm at right now, and now I'm upping my price again. So for a corporation to hire me or a company to hire me as a consultant, it's $100,000 a year. And I actually don't even do that no more. I do consulting for equity, which means they invest $100,000 into me, and then I take 10% equity of their company as well. And then I help them grow it for a long term. The first year is me consulting them, and then the lifetime of the business is still me consulting them, being on the board as an advisor. But now I have equitable interest in making sure that company succeeds.
Wow.
Some companies, I have milestones to take 20% of their company because of knowledge, wisdom, experience. And not only that, relationships, strategies, and resources that I can provide to the table. On the coaching side, one-on-one coaching though, I charge $60,000 a year. So $15,000 per quarter. One thing I learned is, how long does somebody need to work with you to really get results? I used to charge $5,000 a quarter. And I realized as soon as I'm gone out the door, they're back on their bad habits again. And so I was like, okay, well, you can't work with me for a quarter, because as soon as I'm gone, your habits are gone. You need to work with me a minimum of a year. So one of the things that changed my financial life with that is I only work with the clients for a year. You're either all in for a year. Some clients do 3 years. Some clients do 5. You're either in for a year or you're not. But I'm here to help you succeed, and I can't do that. I'd be doing you a disservice if I just charge you for a quarter. That's why they bounce around from coach to coach to coach to coach, or marketing companies from marketing company to marketing agency to marketing agency. It's because they give them you can work with me month to month. I don't do month to month. You're either all in or you're not, and you want the results you really want or you don't. And if you have a proven process and system that'll get them there, they have to complete it. Coaching with me and most coaches, it should be non-refundable, because that's your time, energy, and effort you're giving the person. It's not their fault. It's not your fault as a coach if they don't fulfill their duties on their end and put in the work. I would say ultimately look at your market. Based on your market, if you're doing a vending machines and you're helping other people start their vending machine business, that's similar to when I started an ATM company out here in the US. I did the same thing. I launched a course for $1,000 that people could buy from me to learn how to start an ATM business. I charged them. I think at that time it was $12,000 for one-on-one coaching for a year as they were building their business. But why? It really has to do with how much machines are they going to place? How much machines do they have the financial resources to acquire, first of all? And then how long, if they stayed consistent with a process, would it take them to hit a specific revenue goal, let's say $5K a month or $10K a month, whatever that number is? And then is it worth paying you $20,000 to build a $5,000 a month reoccurring business that's going to take you 2 years to accomplish and get to that goal? This is something I've heard from somebody. It's always best to be the most expensive than try to be the cheapest.
Yeah, because if you value your time as well, and you have to dedicate your time to helping others, then you've got to evaluate the price. You've got to make sure that the price is suitable as well.
And here's what I found out with that. I used to charge $1,000 for a quarter of coaching for 3 months of coaching. First time I started doing it, I charged $1,000. And I was like, is that too expensive? Mm-hmm. And here's what happened. I had about 5 or 10 people pay $1,000, but I was so focused on the next deal because I couldn't pay my bills. I couldn't pay for my overhead. I couldn't feed my family. Like, that was more of a worry for me. Charging $1,000 was one of the biggest mistakes I made, because I was more worried on getting the next sale than helping my client. Now charging $100,000, I don't have to worry about the next deal, because that covers plenty for the year. So 1 or 2 of those clients cover everything I need for the year. So I don't need to go find a new client. If I pick up new clients, that's great, but I don't need to go find them, and I can give all attention now to my clients. So the more you actually charge, the more you can actually comfortably and confidently deliver to your client, because you have more time and you're not stressing on the next deal and the next deal and the next deal.
I like it. That's powerful. And where are you finding these high-paying clients? In your platform? Are you using your platform or leveraging your old marketing skills as well? There's so many different platforms out there. There's paid ads, organic, social, email. How are you finding these high-paying clients?
I would say the biggest thing is I do all the online marketing stuff and the website stuff. I actually don't get no clients that way as a focus, meaning I get clients from there, but it's not my main focus. My high-paying clients a lot of them come from referrals and introductions. There's a belief you have to have in business, and you got to follow this belief, is good business builds business. And I stopped thinking in months, and I stopped thinking in years, and I start thinking in decades. And when you start thinking in decades, if we live 100 years, you only got 10 decades to go by. And so with that, when I was focusing on how much I can accomplish in a month or in a year, I stopped looking at potential opportunities that could happen over a decade. And so now when I focus on decades, I also say watch people by decades. Sometimes we see people like pop off and they make $1 million or $10 million. And then all of a sudden, if you notice, that entrepreneur who makes $10 million this year, right? And then they go out there and they post it on social media. I made $10 million. Let me show you how to do it too. I always say watch for a decade and see where they're at in a decade. And then you'll start to see that they start to disappear in about 4 years, in about 3 to 4 years. Because even though they made $10 million, maybe they got a phenomenal product and they sold out. Did they learn how to keep the money? Did they learn how to multiply the money? There's so many different things that where I failed at. I made a lot of money and lost it all twice. What else were we talking about?
About long-term macro and the money part of things, because it's true. When people make so much money, the secret is how do we, like Warren Buffett is keeping that money as well. And that's another skill in growing that and making sure that you can grow it into generational wealth. So I guess that's a crucial skill to learn in saying that too. What would you tell your younger self if you could look back and do anything different? What would it be? And a key message you want to leave with our audience?
A message to my 10-year younger self. I would say seek counsel, not opinions. And counsel, it comes from, again, knowledge, wisdom, and experience, and a mentor who's paved the path to accomplishment of what you're aiming to achieve right now. 10 years ago, with the money I had, my business partner and I went and started 7 different companies and put all that money into 7 different companies. I would have rather took $20K and paid somebody to show me how to speed my process up. Instead, I was investing into businesses. So seek counsel, not opinion. Opinion comes from everything: lack of knowledge, lack of wisdom, lack of experience, and just really it comes from nothing. And so pay attention to who you're having conversations with is definitely huge, and who you're telling your dreams and goals to. Here's something that's very huge. If you're the black sheep of the family and you're the entrepreneur of the family, don't throw up your entrepreneurship and your personal development journey on your family. I'll tell you why. Because if you have that internal aspiration to go do something great with your life as an entrepreneur, and you're the first one in your family does not know how to support you. There's an individual, he actually just posted a reel, David Meltzer, and he shares this story. He says, I remember when I was a kid and I went to go touch the stove top, the stove fire top. It was the gas stove and it was on fire. And he goes, I don't know what it was in my head that made me want to touch this stove top, but I went to go touch the stove top. And my mother, she's the sweetest lady I've ever had in my life. She's never yelled at me and she's never hit me and she's never raised her voice at me. But that day when I was in the kitchen with her, she saw me reaching for the stove top and she yelled at me and smacked my hand. And she yelled, and as a kid whose mother who's never yelled at me or never hit me, I was in shock and I didn't even know what to think but to cry. And the only words that came out of my mouth was, why are you punishing me? And she got down and she gave him a hug and she said, no, I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting you. Sometimes entrepreneurship is like that, where family members don't mean to distract you from your goals and your dreams, but they feel like if you're going to go out there into the world and do something great, right, and touch the fire, risk your life in all these different ventures, maybe go broke, which is fine because money's not the end of the world. We make more of it. Like go broke doing it or whatever it is you want to do. Your family members, they don't know how to support you. They think they're protecting you by telling you, don't go do it. Greg Reed wrote the book 3 Feet from Gold. He's dyslexic. He's illiterate. Doesn't know how to read or write, yet he has 42 best-selling books, and he's co-authored and contributed to 150 books in his career. 13 books for the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and his family members told him, don't do it. You're dyslexic. You're illiterate. You don't know how to read or write, Greg. Like, give up. But yet he didn't listen to them. He went out and sought counsel, got ghostwriters, got some of the best publishers in the world to publish his books. And yet now he's a 42-time best-selling author.
Amazing.
So advice to my younger self would be seek counsel, not opinions.
Yeah, that's so true about the family thing as well, because people don't have that same vision and that same hunger and the same circumstances. And they have a fear as well that they'll project onto you sometimes. And that's just self protection. They just want the best for you too. It's not a bad thing, but I heard of situations like that. And I've been one of those as well, because when my partner wanted to try something new, invest in something, and I was that fearful one of not wanting to lose. So I've been there, but then now a whole different perspective as well. Is there one key message that you'd like to leave with the audience? And where can they find you if they want to follow you as well?
I'll stick with this message. Everything you want in life and in business is on the other side of developing new successful habits. I'll leave you with that message. Where you could find me is michaellaw.io, pretty much everywhere, LAW. Anything Ideal U, the letter U, like university. We have Ideal U, and Ideal University is going to be our education platform. So Ideal U, the letter U.io is our website, and you'll find everything there. And the Ideal app on social media, the Ideal app.
Awesome. Appreciate your time and that wisdom. Like, it's phenomenal. Like, I wish you all the best and the success, and appreciate all that knowledge that you gave us. So thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, Linda. Thank you for having me on.